I'd like to open it up to questions from the floor now, if anyone has one.
With the loss of over 150,000 rent-regulated apartments over the last 10 years, do we see our elected officials continuing to lose their mind because they're responding to an electorate that is suffering in terms of their relationship with housing? How can the real estate industry partner with the elected officials and tenants so that we can provide for housing that's a win-win, or will commercial real estate continue to get screwed as the years come?
No, I think there are absolutely win-win opportunities in the marketplace. And I think if you look at the fact that the marketplace is under such pressure because of this extraordinarily low vacancy rate that we've had for so long, that a lot of the issues that create stresses on the marketplace would be solved with more supply. And again, I think you could, with the right incentives, you could get the private sector to do almost anything that you want it to do. And I think with more supply, the right incentives, a great mix of affordable units at a spectrum up and down the AMI spectrum, I think there are win-win opportunities there, and it's just a matter of trying to get elected officials to understand how the market works. One of the things I'm the most surprised by when I speak to politicians is their lack of understanding of what they're voting on, how it works, and the impact that it has on market fundamentals. You know, for instance, tax policy has a very profound impact on the way market participants behave. If you look over the past 35 years, the activity in the sales market has always spiked when we've had a significant change in tax policy. 1986, tax reform of '86 caused a huge spike in sales activity. 1998, when the Clinton administration dropped capital gains taxes from 28% to 20%, giant spike in sales activity. Incentives make the market move. We just need the politicians to understand that with the right incentives, we can achieve the objectives that we want.
And Bob, can I just to add a comment? So I think many of the developments you're talking about, Susie, are under the Affordable New York program.
Correct.
So Affordable New York, which was the new 421A program, creates affordable housing, and it's a public-private partnership, government incentivizing, but one of the I was going to use the word quid pro quo, but it's not a good phrase these days. One of the carrots to developers using Affordable New York was the notion that they could deregulate apartments. When the Housing Stability Act got passed and they repealed luxury deregulation, developers were feeling you just took out the very incentive you gave us to develop these properties and develop affordable housing. That resulted in an amendment to the law making it clear that Affordable New York still survived and allowed deregulation. So just to echo what Bob says, I think it's an incentivization of development of affordable housing. When the laws were being discussed and I was meeting with politicians and I understood the laws that they were considering amending, I said, can you show me, can you explain to me, other than locking in stabilized tenants into their apartments, where are you creating a single unit of affordable housing? Crickets, because it doesn't. So it's really the incentives that Bob talked about.
Right, and I think part and parcel of that is that with this new construction, if they do adopt these different things to create the incentive for the development community, there would have to be a restriction put on these buildings such that in the future, depending on changes in city law or state law, they would not impact the fact that these units would be free market in perpetuity. In exchange for the deed restriction on not converting these buildings to condo ownership, you'd have a cap on real estate taxes, which would be indexed on a per square foot basis, and you also would eliminate the possibility that they could be controlled with some laws down the line. That would create the comfort level within the development community to produce the stock that we need.
And despite my youthful appearance, I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I have
never seen as many of our clients at our firm, real estate developers and others, looking outside the state, whether it's Atlanta, Nashville, Florida, and other places, and they're giving up. A lot of them are changing their permanent residences to Florida and other places. It is not a good situation, and I don't know if the industry can even be effective, and especially even converting. We brought on some additional co-op and condo lawyers to our group about a year ago in anticipation that there would be a lot of conversions going on like happened in the 80s, when then it was co-op conversions, now it would be co-op condo. But the legislation that came down makes it almost impossible to convert a rental building now into a condo or co-op. So that's eliminated another area. I mean, I don't want to sound like the voice of death here, but it doesn't sound prospectively going forward here that this is going to be a quick cure.
I mean, I guess my response would be, I don't think that we should all, sell our buildings at bargain basement prices and go home, right? You've been doing this a long time, and I would argue that, when we look back to the 70s when, the real estate industry stepped up to the table, prepaid its taxes, and arguably saved the city from bankruptcy, right? We've come a long way where now the real estate industry is labeled as, truly bad actors, and that's a result of a lot of, or some people in our industry who took advantage of loopholes and caused real problems, right? A lot of us get up in the morning, we run our buildings really well, we take care of our residents, but yes, we're the targets of the politicians. I don't think that those politicians are going to be in office forever. I don't think that they can run on platforms where they're putting laws in place that are destroying their buildings, their neighborhoods, their communities, right? Eventually, residents wake up and they say, you know what, I don't like tripping over a homeless person, I feel unsafe taking my child to school, etc., and they're going to want change. And I think the political flavor of the day will change. And I think we've got to look to the leadership in our industry to take a very forceful, long-term approach to it. So while you would say those groups kind of crap the bed, so to speak, I might agree that some of them did, but I think there are some who have shown lately real leadership and are looking for ways in the short term to change the legislation or put forth programs that will enable us to improve apartments, enable us to put capital into buildings. And I also think given the price reset that you've seen, you're buying in a very different climate where you don't need the levers that we had 9 months ago to make these buildings work. And I guess I also fundamentally believe that over the long haul, New York City is a fantastic place to invest. But I think, again, look to groups like Rebney, who are taking a leadership role in this. And I think you're going to see interesting things happen over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, and Dick, I agree with Douglas. I think just as the real estate market is cyclical, always has been, I think political shifts are cyclical as well. I was talking to a client yesterday who was talking about what the landscape was like in the multifamily sector back in the 60s. And he said, it wasn't so much fun back then. And things got better, and now they're not as good, but it will cycle. And if you're a long-term believer in the city, which many of us are, you have to think that things will change. Already, I have another client who routinely would go into their portfolio of rent-stabilized units, which was a majority of the portfolio, and they would offer tenants the ability to have a kitchen renovated or a bathroom renovated while they stayed in place. The rent would go up, but they still would be significantly below market. And they would go to the tenant and say, hey, your kitchen is from 1982. How about I give you a brand new kitchen? Your rent's going to go from $700 to $958. Market rent is $4,000. You're still way below market, but you'll have a better living condition. A lot of those tenants took up that owner and said, please, that would be great. They were happy to pay the extra $258 for a new kitchen. Now, those tenants are going to the owner saying, hey, remember you made me that offer for the new kitchen or the new bathroom? I'd love to do that. And the response is, yeah, sorry, I can't do that. It doesn't make any economic sense for me. So if enough people get disgruntled about their living conditions, which clearly if you're not able to increase rents and your real estate taxes keep going up significantly, and you're looking for ways to save money in the operating of the building, conditions have to get worse. They're not going to get better for the residents in those buildings. People will start to complain. And I think it's an ebb and flow. The market is cyclical, and political, the balance of power politically in Albany shifts from time to time. And yeah, we're in a certain cycle now, but that will change in the future.